Good morning, everybody. Good morning. So let's get a big round Tuesday morning. Good morning. So good morning, everybody. Good morning. Thank you. I appreciate that. So because innovation is exciting. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about innovation. We're going to be talking about forming questions. And we're going to be talking about some really exciting work that we've been doing at the CIO Council to really create an environment with employees like yourself to start to find new solutions for the challenges that we're facing today. What I want to start off with is I want a show of hands of people in the room that are a part of the IT Solutions Challenge. Great. So we've got a number of you here. So these individuals have been devoting 3 months of their time thus far, and they've got another 3 months to go in terms of a challenge that's been formed, and we hope that you'll be excited to hear about and that you'll want to be a part about in the future. So the way in which this challenge got started, the IT Solutions Challenge, is there was a question that was asked by some of the very people that you saw sitting on the stage earlier this morning, Megan Smith and Lisa Schlosser, along with Tony Smith. And they were asking, how can we gain an understanding of some of the most salient issues that are out there right now for staff-level IT and IT acquisition specialists? So folks like yourself, what are really the issues that you are banging your head against the table and saying, why do we have to do it this way? Why are we having to go through these different types of processes, or why does it take so long? And they wanted to create a situation where the same people who were having the challenges could find the solutions to solve them and provide that environment through both a professional development process as well as leading these individuals through an iteration process to find those solutions. So that's where we started. With this question of how can we do this? And where we're at today is we have 39 participants that are representing 19 different agencies, and over the course of the next 6 months, which started in April and will end in September, they've been going through an iteration process, starting off with ideas and then moving it into true challenges or true solutions to these challenges, and going through that constancy of iteration that Megan was just speaking to. And that's really an important part of how we look at any of these questions. So what I'm going to do today is talk a little bit about the basic framework of this challenge and then some of the types of methodologies that we've been using as we go through the process. I really want this to be an open question kind of forum here. I don't personally love to give presentations. I'd much rather have a conversation with you, though that's a little distancing from where I'm standing right now. So I please hope that you will really jump in, ask some questions, and be a part of this conversation. Okay, so what is the challenge? It's 6 months of hand-selected federal IT professionals working together in teams. And a really great part of this is these individuals have all been selected by their CIOs at their agencies as rising stars. So they have a spark. And showing that spark is one way to be able to truly become a part of the challenge and being able to offer up your solutions to others, is finding that way to show others that you have a spark. And then what these individuals have been put together into teams that are cross-governmental, cross-agency. And so you're working with people who are not of your same agency, but they were able to find some common challenges that they all face across agencies. So as well as working together in these cross-agencies teams, they are engaging in a professional development session as well, where they're receiving support and mentoring from federal IT leaders, and then some other subject matter experts that we pull in when there's a certain type of question that's being asked, or an idea that someone has and they want to bounce it against someone. We're able to bring in subject matter experts for these individuals to work with. And basically, really what we're looking for is that challenge that keeps you excited and engaged in the work that you're doing, an opportunity to create something that's innovative, and we really want to see something that's groundbreaking. This is an opportunity to make that change that you really all want to see. So it fosters individual professional development. We were able to do a competency assessment asking what are the different competencies that these individuals really want to see grow throughout their experience. And they'll be self-assessing themselves at the end to see how far they were able to grow in these particular areas, which is everything from understanding budget processes to creative problem solving to understanding what are some of these different methodologies that we can use to really generate better and bigger ideas. We're encouraging that cross-agency collaboration. The opportunities that you have to network whenever you get onto one of these cross-agency teams can really provide you with just great opportunities for the future. It's a great opportunity to be a true entrepreneur in your own career as an IT professional, and to be able to find those networks and those individuals who can help you grow and help you find those other jobs that really truly excite you and keep you passionate about providing service to federal government. And then we really want a solution. So while we're balancing this solutions challenge with both professional development, and that's really truly at the heart of it, on the other side, we really want your professional development to lead you towards executing towards actual results, because that is part of what is going to help you grow in your career. And so developing a solution is really a key part of this as well. Throughout all this process, what we really want to see is that individuals are empowered by their leadership to be able to find that innovation and to be able to percolate those up across all of the different sort of force fields that keep ideas down. So think about yourself in your agency, and then I want you to just consider all of these different layers of individuals and of hierarchy, of different parts of the organization, of the barriers across white spaces that kind of surround you. And there's these layers and layers of bubbles that start to overlie the great idea that you have, that spark that's down there. And so what we're looking for are ways that you can sort of shoot holes through all of those different layers and allow those ideas to get all the way up to the top leadership, where they're able to see the ideas that you have and to really be able to provide the support that is needed in order to really help those grow. But so we're looking for ways to be able to shoot holes through all those different force fields, and being a part of the solutions challenge and the access to all these subject matter experts are just one of the ways that we're able to do that. So what is a solution, and what are some of the criteria of what we're looking for out of these different teams? One is that we're looking for something that's feasible, that there is an opportunity. We want you to think really big, and we want you to think really bold, but ultimately we want to find something that can be smallified, that can be provided into a small enough chunk that it can have a feasibility to it. And think back on what Megan was saying around Google and some of the different Silicon Valley solutions. They might have had a really big idea, but they started finding those feasible solutions that they were able to iterate on and to put out there in small chunks that they were then able to develop and move the ideas forward. And so that's some of what we're looking for as well. We really want to find things that are transformative. And sometimes transformative doesn't always have to mean that it is completely going to change and turn upside down what is taking place. Sometimes you can be transformed by simply not having to fill out a form and being able to move things through in a much swifter fashion. So transformative in government can sometimes be a little bit different than when we think about transformative outside in other industries. Impactful. Impactful here is not just to the public, which we are always keeping at the forefront of our mind. It's also impactful to your fellow colleagues and impactful to yourself in terms of how you as IT acquisition specialists and IT specialists are able to work in your daily life. How do we make your life easier and able to get the work done so that you stay engaged and you're really able to deliver value? So we want to find solutions that have impact in terms of helping you to be able to do that. Facilitate change, making life easier, really contributing to the mission, and really if there is one solution that has a cross-agency impact, those are really the types of solutions that we're looking for. Something that is going to really lift everyone across this IT arena in finding a way to make things easier. What could a solution be? There's many different ways in which we can look at a solution. Sometimes it's not the widget that we're looking to have as a creation. Sometimes it could be a policy. It could be a new working group that finally sort of cuts through some of that red tape of conversation that's not been able to take place. It could be a website actually being launched and maybe providing some new data. Perhaps it is a way of using big data to share information and communicate more fully. Piloting a project is something like really trying out some ideas and finding a pilot project to implement those. That would be a viable product to move forward, as well as even just a research project that has some actionable information that's been gained as a result of the work and the interviews and the understanding that's been gained that maybe was not there before. So anything that has the potential to really help to move the dial forward in terms of the work that we're able to do and making life easier. So the criteria in terms of who can participate in the IT Solutions Challenge is really quite open. GS9 through GS12s who've had enough government experience, 6+ months, that you can actually sort of make some suggestions, that you can provide value and understand some of the workings. But 6 months is, was a very brief time to have experience as well. We have everyone, I think one of our fewest number of years is maybe about a year, 9 months a year that someone's been present in government, to also having people who have been present for 15 years. So there's really a range of experience of the individuals who are participating in this. And what are we asking of them? We really, for the most part, we want you to be bold and be transformative in your ideas. But you also have to be very open to other people's ideas. And sometimes that's a real balancing act that we all have to follow in terms of that immediate reaction sometimes can be, yes, we've tried that in the past. So why would we do that again? Here we really try to kick all the yeah buts out of the room and really stay in a frame of yes and trying to grow on different ideas and staying in a positive, optimistic framework of how we can listen to more information and how we can grow on that. So the yes and experience, the optimistic experience, is really something that's a key point of this. And we really hope that that really re-engages people in their experience as well, from that, going back to that force field idea. A lot of those ideas have been kept down in the past, and here we want an experience where you can really grow and you can really expand those ideas. So how has it worked? We've started off with a experience of building understanding with a kickoff reception, and this was held over at the Executive Office Building, and then moving into a problem definition workshop. So with this, individuals really had an opportunity to get to know each other and to get to know the shared challenges that have been experienced across the different agencies and what really has been driving and motivating them to be a part of finding a new solution and being a part of this team. We then move into shaping choices. So from all the different ideas that we have, how do we start to formulate those into true, tangible, concrete ideas that we can start to take shape with, and then to start to iterate and ask questions around. So how do we start to build on those and start to create more out of it? And then this is the point that we're at right now. The teams will be actually meeting again tomorrow for their midpoint meeting, where they're going to get to go before an expert panel where they'll be sharing their ideas, and they'll be getting some constructive critical feedback to say, yes, this is feasible, yes, this has an opportunity to move forward. There's actually some overlap here with some other activities that are taking place. Have you considered talking with these individuals? And we'll really help to make some more of those connections. But really shaping that choice to make the decision of what the solution is the stage that all these teams are in at this point. And then in this next 3 months, the key point is to find that decision maker. Whatever idea that you have, whatever idea that you're working on, it's a matter of finding that true decision maker that can truly help you move it forward and help to implement that idea. And if you don't have the buy-in of the decision maker, sometimes these ideas just sort of spin and churn out there. Has anybody had that experience where you have a team that's working on a project, you feel you have something really great, but the decision maker has not really been a part of the conversation in terms of taking it forward? I know I've been in those situations. So here we really want to challenge people, and we want to provide the experience of getting in front of that executive leader who is truly the decision maker in these arenas to help make that decision and to know what is going to provide value and what they will support. Another aspect of it is program days. I'm a graphic facilitator, so I get to have a little bit of fun drawing while we are listening to the conversations. This was a program day that we had with a couple of professionals from Monster coming in and talking about professional networking. We knew that all these individuals are going to be going out and talking to a lot of executives, and this is an opportunity not only to gain experience or to find information out about the challenge that you're having, but to try and figure out where you want to go in your career and to really leverage these contacts that are being made with these executives. And so we brought in these individuals from Monster, Tim Layton and John Casey, to talk about what are some of the best interviewing skills. How should you present yourself? What are some of the opportunities that are there? So we really want to, again, balance the professional development along with the solution finding. So what's our theory of change? Why are we doing this? At the Performance Improvement Council, where I work as a graphic facilitator, and this is one of the councils that's very similar to the CIO Council in that we help to convene conversation across multiple government agencies. Our mission at the PIC is to advance and expand the practice of performance management and improvement. And we really believe that the type of solutions that these teams are looking for are truly part of that, helping to improve performance in the government arena. We believe that small groups of empowered and passion-curious people can truly make a huge impact. And this is part of all of the facilitation events and engagements that we design have a key portion of this, the idea of empowering you in your small team to make a difference and to find that decision maker who can help support you in those changes as well. We believe that challenges are best solved collectively. And that's why we like to bring together cross-agency teams and basically cross-organizational teams, because it's across those white spaces of organization that we're truly able to find the new innovations and those new solutions that can move us forward. So we truly do believe that challenges can be solved collectively. And with the insights that you gather through going out and doing interviews, we really believe that that can inspire action. And so that's another key part of the work that we're doing here. And all of this, we really believe, can make a better outcome for citizens, and that you can all be a part of that. So I have to say, I'm one of those truly, truly optimistic government employees. I really believe that we can make a big difference, and that every day you have an opportunity to do so. And it's by being impassioned and empowered about the work that you're doing. So who in this room considers themselves a designer? Okay, I've got one designer in the room, that's it. Okay, so everyone who is devising a new course of action aimed at changing existing situations into preferred one is a designer. And so when you think about the work that you're doing in developing solutions, in working with your different IT technologies and implementations, the processes that you're enabling for others, do you feel that you're designing new actions? So who in this room is a designer? I hope every single one of you feels that you're a designer. I hope also every single one of you in this room feels that you're an entrepreneur, because you truly have, if you have that entrepreneurial leadership spirit behind the designs that you're making and the work that you're doing, we can truly have that entrepreneurial spirit take place in the government arena and really take us much further. So I hope that you all feel that way as well. So design thinking is something that's really at the core of a lot of the processes that we're following through the IT Solutions Challenge, and then also the work that we do at the Performance Improvement Council. Design thinking is very human-centered, and it's an approach to problem solving that focuses in on truly the needs of the people, possibilities of technology, and then the requirements. So it's really that merging of the requirements that exist from that business perspective, which can be all of our regulations, our rules, our legalities, those requirements, as well as the needs that truly exist out there in order to find a new designed approach and what that might be. So design is not just something that happens in product offices for widgets and for wonderful things that we use on a daily basis. We design our everyday experiences as well. So how you design the way of bringing people together, how you design the customer experience, and our customers can be our fellow colleagues in our own government experience. You have the ability to impact and really find new creative ways of working with that. So design thinking is mindset, values, and process, and I'm just going to speak to a couple of these different areas. It's more than Post-it notes. A lot of people, when they think about design thinking, they think about they see a lot of Post-it notes going up on the wall, and they think it's just that experience. There's really a great deal of theory and practice of group dynamics that takes place within that Post-it note experience of gathering ideas. And part of what we do in our experience with the IT Solutions Challenge is harness a lot of those types of ideas and that group dynamics theory into the processes that we're following. It's a mode of analysis that really is focused in on relationships and the behaviors, a lot of real human interactions that we're trying to bring out as a part of the design experience. listening and talking to individuals, going out and interviewing is a key part of any of the work that we do. And I really like to use this, this visual here as a description of a lot of the sort of the analysis paralysis that we sometimes fall into. So oftentimes when we're thinking about surveys and our market research, we're going to go out and we're going to do a lot of surveys. And when I'm talking to individuals around what information do you have around the challenge that's been faced, a lot of people reference surveys that they have conducted in the past, and the same survey being done over and over again. So let's just say that we've got 100 people, 1,000 people that have been a part of that survey. You're going to get a certain amount of truths, but that doesn't mean that you're going to really get insights around what those truths are. So the moment that we go out and we start to truly interact with individuals and the human aspect of it, we can take a much smaller number of people, have interviews with them, and gain a far more insights. And putting that together with your survey information, so the truths and the insights, that's when we're really able to find the action that we can move forward. And so we really believe strongly in the connection of that interview information into the survey data. Many of the things that we try to frame as the groundwork of this is to see life as an experiment, everything that we do as an experiment, to truly challenge all of the status quo of how we've been doing it. And I hope that in your everyday, in all the different programs and problems that you're facing today, that you really are challenging what's the common view of that, and to make sure that the human stays at the center of it. With our mindset, we want to be really agile in terms of going back and forth between concrete and abstract, and looking at the past and the future, and finding that balance in between in terms of where we really want to find the next opportunity that's going to allow us to move forward. Our process, as I mentioned earlier, goes through a focus in on building understanding, where we first want to bring everyone together, starting to find all those ideas. It's a very divergent process to start off, and then we find that tipping point where we start to converge back in and start to narrow down the choices, and that's when we start to be able to shape them. And the moment that we identify one area that we can focus in on, then we can diverge again, start to build new ideas out, and then start to focus it back down until we're able to get to the point of making decisions. In that first understanding part, it's focused in on empathy and doing a lot of ethnography. In the second part of the shaping choices, we're doing a lot of confrontation with the yeah buts, the things that we've all said have happened in the past that we really want to change and transition. And then as we get into making decisions, it focuses in a lot on storytelling and how you tell your story. But it all starts with a question. And one of the ways in which we went about doing that with the IT Solutions Challenges is that back of the napkin idea. And so what I'd love for you all to do right now is think about a challenge that you're facing. And I want you to write it down. What's your back of the napkin idea that you have about a challenge that you're facing in your work? And I'm going to give you a minute to do that. So write down your back of the napkin idea that you have for solving a challenge that you have today. All right, so find a partner in the room, and I want you to share that idea with them, an idea that you have for a challenge that you're facing, and tell them a little bit about that idea. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do that, okay? So find a partner and share a big idea that you have about how we could solve a challenge that's existing in your world today. Okay. That would be great. Okay, so did everybody get a chance to share an idea that you have, a big challenge that you have? Okay, I want you to select one of those challenges or one of those ideas that you have. I want you to take this first page, this scoping template that I handed out to everybody, and I want you to focus in on what's the problem that you're trying to solve with that big idea that you just shared out. And I want you to take a minute and talk with your pair here in terms of what's truly at the heart of that. What's the problem that you're truly trying to solve? What's the current area of opportunity? The idea that you had is more of a solution. You have some idea of how you might be able to solve a problem. What I want you to get back to is what's truly the problem that you're trying to solve and understanding that. Okay? Okay, does everybody have a problem written down that's at the heart of that idea that you had? Okay. Do you have these? You do. Okay. All right. Okay. Follow the path. And look at I want you to follow the path that you've got here on this sheet and look at what's the broader opportunity that exists. So with any problem that we have, there's many different directions in which we can go with that. And oftentimes that problem is so large that we really don't yet have clarity around it. So asking yourself the question of, what's a broader opportunity? What's a narrower opportunity? And then what does this really mean? Why does it matter? It's getting to the point of why it matters that we really want you to drive towards. So follow the path that we have on this template here and just continue to fill out a few more things about this. All right, can I get somebody to share with me one of their statements where you've started off with at what's the problem that you're trying to solve? Who'd be willing to share? I might call him my IT solutions guy. Okay, back here in the back.
Okay, I work for TSA, and we're actually looking at a business process to change. Mm-hmm. And the opportunity for us is to respond to our users. I work in personal property, not real property. There's a distinction. And we keep, my particular office keeps track of all of the scanning equipment at the airports as well as the IT equipment. So what we would like to do is to be able to respond to our users much more quickly. We want to have a knowledge base because our users are obviously all over the world, and we want them to be able to sign on 24/7 even though the office is not staffed, and be able to find answers to their questions if they're having problems with the application or if they need for us to actually have an action item for them. So the scope within the process would be personal property, not real property. We have to have a good knowledge base for them to be able to hone in on. And then finally, the constraints were, of course, like everyone, we need to have an effective budget constraint. So we were looking at some type of enterprise software that might be able to answer these questions. We also want to be able to have our users respond within a day. Do you want me to keep going?
Well, what I want you to get to is what is the problem. So on the side that's the scoping template?
Yeah.
So what is the problem that you're trying to solve?
We're trying to solve a problem of a much more automated way to respond to the users. Right now we're using public mailboxes and personal action officers to respond to things, whereas we want a more specific portal for all user application questions to come in and for us to respond to within a day. Okay. We want to do that for specific questions, and we want to do that for a knowledge base.
Okay, so oftentimes when we hear something, that's big. That's a big project. And sometimes when we see that large of a project, it can seem really, really far away in terms of implementation.
I'll tell my boss that. I'm the only one assigned to the project.
Okay. All right. So the idea, that we try to follow through this process is trying to smallify it. Where are the ways in which we can gain value by sort of narrowing or looking at different aspects of it and finding that iteration potential within it. So that's where we start to say, what's the reason that it matters? And there's multiple reasons why it matters. And then starting to narrow through there and then finding the opportunity that's maybe bigger or smaller.
Right.
And so it's the narrowing down of the information to get it down to that piece.
Okay.
Yeah. So thank you
Right.
for speaking up. I appreciate that. Does anybody else want to share a challenge that they're looking at? Would be willing to do that? What was your big idea, and how did you get it down to the problem that you were trying to solve? Does anybody have a big idea, and then they were able to take it to a problem? Thank you.
Ours was a culture issue where our agencies are not so susceptible to change, or they are slow to change. So we narrowed it down to, okay, why does this matter? In acquisitions, if you're trying to get things done quicker or quicker than normal, it doesn't happen. By the time they get around to it, you don't really need that. Or IT purchases. There's a new software or there's a new way of doing things there, and by the time you get it purchased, there's something else and you don't need it anymore.
Yeah. So oftentimes when we talk about these, even as we're talking about them here, it's hard to really figure out like that story, that compelling reason that you're going to get people engaged and want to fund what it is that you're doing and to give you the resources to do so. Finding those very compelling stories and then finding that hook, that reason why it matters. What's truly the problem that you're trying to solve? Who are you solving it for? Is it yourself? Is it the public? Who is that? What are you really trying to solve? And then finding that smallified version of what you can start to implement so that you have that constantly iterative opportunity to create is really at the heart of it. So how has that been working? If I can ask some of the IT solutions participants, how's that been working for you thus far in your process going through this? Part of it has been going out and interviewing individuals as you identify the ideas like you've just had now, and then you go out and you start to interview and really understand, is this truly the problem that others are seeing? Or is it just how do I validate the assumptions that I have about this particular challenge? Would any of y'all be willing to share an experience that you've had from your ideas through the iteration of interviewing? Thanks.
For the interview part, I find it really interesting of how you have one idea in your mind what the problem is and you think what the solutions are, but then when you start talking to somebody in the interview and start asking questions, are you seeing the same issue? A lot of times there are other issues that are brought up that we didn't necessarily think about, and it really gets us to go back and say, okay, let's have a discussion again about this new information that we have. Let's do some more research. So for us, it's kind of you have an idea, you go ask some people about it, and then you can kind of see, are you going the right path, or do you really see, is it really an issue, or do we think it's an issue and it's not necessarily an issue? So I think for my team, it's been more of a finding the information and finding out, okay, do we need to backtrack and take another route, or do we continue to go the path that we're going? And I know for my group in particular, we've been kind of all over the place and haven't quite figured out that path, but at least we're having that conversation.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. So, and it sounds like really what you're having there, Tracy, is that validation of your assumptions. So you've got your problem, you're going out, you're validating the assumptions. If you're interested in some assumption validation approaches, Lean Startup has something called the Javelin board or the assumption board that really gives you a great opportunity of challenging those and seeing those. Part of what we really start to do as we get to this point of understanding and going out and interviewing and finding these solutions is we start to work on these types of statements. What are we creating, for who, and for what is it going to do? And so this becomes a part of telling the story to the decision maker of what the value is that's being created. We use things like statement starters, how might we, as a way to really start to explore and dive deeper into those ideas. And from the how might we, or in what ways, or how do we, you can really explore a lot of different things. And here's just a couple of versions of using the how might we from a veterans adjustment and reemployment framework. And here it's making sure that your how might we statements are broad enough that they are not assuming some type of technology or a particular delivery mechanism, but that they also are specific enough to the particular group that you're interested in. So how might we ensure information is readily available to vets? Kind of going back to your situation with TSA, where you were describing information to individuals, finding that right how might we statement, or several different how might we statements in terms of how you're going to make that information available, or what your different opportunities are, is a really great way to start to form that down and to start to go into your discovery. From that how might we and going out and interviewing people, you can see this is a gathering of data where not only was the interview information brought back, the specific interview statements, but it's also pictures of people in their experiences. So they're really able to bring in that whole user perspective from the talking to the people. And from there, moving into the idea generation and really starting to think broadly in many different ways. From the broadening of ideas, I want to point you towards this fast idea generator handout that I gave you. And this comes from Nesta, which is a nonprofit public sector organization in the UK, used to be associated with the UK government. They have a great deal of a number of tools through their do-it-yourself toolkit that really opens up ways of different types of thinking. And I really like this one from the sense of giving you some tips and ways to start to reinvent the question that you have. So for whatever idea you might have, how would you invert that? For instance, here, inversion, doctors treat patients. Well, what if patients became the doctors? And we see that now through WebMD in many ways. Many patients are finding different ways of finding their information. And when you talk about that, some doctors find it interesting and some doctors find it a little off-putting. So there's a lot of opportunity and different considerations there. Differentiation, how do you segment what exactly it is you might be considering from different aspects of that? Addition, what are new elements? So using this as just a way for whatever idea that you have at this point to try to think differently about it. Another thing that we oftentimes do, we call alternative worlds. And with this, it's a matter of whatever the idea you have. I always like to use Richard Branson. How would Richard Branson think about this? How would he reinvent this solution this challenge that we're talking about? Or how would how would someone else utilize it? That's sort of a key figure in our world today that's very tech savvy, are very useful. Another tool that we can use is something called the Creative Matrix. And with the Creative Matrix, it's another idea generation tool where on one side we look at what are the different enablers, and you can name these. We oftentimes use technology. We oftentimes use hotspots. What are those areas where people are really going a lot? And then we always have a wild card situation. But then across the top, we speak to who are the different segments or the people populations. And here you can see, using one from technology, video and audio superstars. And then we're asking a question around tracking wages. This was with Department of Labor, looking at hourly employees to employers, the State Department of Labor, and then looking at, finally, I think it was at the booking systems or the accounting systems. And so the idea here is that you just think as broadly and wildly and creatively as you can in a very quick matter of time. And this is a great tool that you can just pop up and you can draw at any point, and it can start to help you generate different ideas. So you designate your columns, and then you really just start to go with your ideas. But ideas alone are not scalable. You really need to put those ideas into words and to start to make them tangible so that they can really, truly start to inspire action, because ultimately that's what we want to get to. And that's where prototyping really starts to be a great opportunity. So paper prototyping. How many people have used paper prototyping in their experiences thus far? Okay. So there's a lot of opportunity to use this in the room. Basically, it's just really starting to draw out those ideas that you have as a very low fidelity mechanism. Rather than going and spending a lot of money in development, is to truly use as many different types of prototyping mechanisms as you can find that will allow you to test this experience with users, with colleagues, with others, to see if your idea has traction. Paper prototypes is one of those, where basically we want you to fail fast and fail often so that you iterate and move through your different ideas. You review and share it with others, your peers, or with the actual user, and refine it, and just keep going through this constancy of iteration, as Megan Smith mentioned. When you're prototyping, you're basically looking at either new functionality or whatever might be the change, what might be a complex interaction that's going to be a little bit more difficult for people to understand. Focus in on just a little bit of the functionality. You don't have to do the whole thing, but you're really focusing in on that functionality, which is going to be used most of the time. And you're going to try to find scenarios. So this is a way, going back to that storytelling, of how are people actually going to interact with it. When we're designing these things, we need to not just be focused in on the item itself, that solution, but rather the story that's being weaved across those different scenarios of how things are being used. Here is a prototype that's a concept map. This is a very good way to start to tell the story. And guys, for the IT solutions team, everybody take a close look at this, because you're going to be developing some of these tomorrow. What exactly is your concept, and how would you draw that out? What are people really talking about with it? What would be a way of sharing this information? And you can see from this example here, this was last year with a GSA team, when we were doing a summer of innovation with about 7 teams, about 50 people, something very similar. Over the course of 45 days, we went through an innovation sprint from idea to concept to going before the decision makers in terms of the ideas moving forward. Here we've got a prototype that's basically a journey map. So reimagining how a service might be delivered and how people are actually delivering that. But in the end, you've really got to get it back to user testing, and you really need to get it in front of people, because again, all of our ideas are about people. I've got a couple of different books here that I think are really just great resources, and I'll really focus everybody towards specifically leading public sector innovation with Christian Basin. He's a thought leader from Mind Lab in Denmark. Truly has a number of great ideas in terms and real life experiences and implementations from using design thinking and these innovation iterative approaches in terms of really making impact in terms of public sector innovations. So that is all I have. I hope that you'll find these tools and templates something that can be very useful for you. Truly, I want to take you back to that scoping template. No matter where you're at in your process, please make sure that you can tell the story of the problem that you're truly trying to solve. Sometimes we lose sight of it. Even if we knew where we were at the start, it starts to change. So be sure that you can get back to that point of saying, what's the problem that you're trying to solve? Are there any questions, any thoughts, anything anyone would like to share? Well, I thank you for your time today, and everybody keep innovating.